Hello, welcome back to Principles of Corporate Finance video lecture series. Today on session 4, I will explain the time value of money concept. Time value of money topic is a broad topic, so I will explain this in two sessions, session 4 and coming session 5. So at the beginning, I said that almost all companies have accounts receivables and accounts payables. It means that they don't pay out as they purchase and they don't collect immediately as they sell. As a company, we try to pay out as late as possible and we try to collect as soon as possible. This is because of time value. So we have a payment due. For example, we need to pay $1,000 in 2 months. Instead of paying it immediately, we can invest this amount into financial markets, into 2 months securities, that is money market securities. So, and we can earn interest during these 2 months. So this approach is called time value of money. The principle is $1 today is more valuable than $1 tomorrow or any time in future. It's because $1 today can be invested into, as I said, into financial markets to earn some interest, and $1 today is more liquid. That is, we can spend it immediately as soon as possible, and there is no that it will be received. So it is cash. That's why we call it $1 today is worth more than $1 in some time in future. Or simply as it's said in famous proverb, a bird in hand is worth more than 2 in the bush. So if we know the required discount rate and the period of time of our investment, we can easily calculate some indicators, some metrics. First one is future value. Future value is how much our today's investment will grow up in some time in future. As I said, if we know the interest rate and the time period, we can calculate this value. And present value is also important. How much should we invest today to reach some amount in future? We may have some plans about future, so investing some amount today, it will gain interest and it will grow up to our goal. So let's start with future value first. Very basically, future value is how much our today's investment will grow up in some time in future at a certain interest rate. Assume that we have, let's say, $10,000 today, and we want to know that how much it will grow in 1 year. So we draw a timeline first if we want to see the cash flows exactly and very clearly. It's important to draw a timeline. So by default we are on time 0. Time 0 is today. How much our investment will grow to in 1 year? That's point 1. So we go bank and get interest rate of, let's say, 10%. So how much will our interest will grow in 1 year? That is future value of 10,000 in 1 year at 10% rate. It increases by 10% of 10,000. So we indicate all rates as a decimals. That is 0.10. So we can rewrite this as future value in year 1 is 10,000 plus it earns interest at 10% of 10,000. So we can take this 10,000 out of bracket. It will be 1 plus rate, 10%. And it will be 11,000. In 1 year, our investment will grow up to 11,000. So we can take our investment further for example, 2 years. So we are curious about how much it will be in 2 years. We can calculate this same way. We have 11,000 here. So investing these at 10% for 2 years, again it will get 10% interest. So our investment in 2 years, it will be 11,000 plus 10% of 11,000. If we again take this 11,000 out of bracket, it will be 1 plus 11,000 times 1 plus rate. So we have 11,000 here. Our 11,000 equals to 1,000 times 1 plus rate. We can replace 11,000 with this expression. We get 10,000 plus 1 plus rate times 1 plus rate. And this is 10,000 times 1 plus rate square. So in 2 years, our investment will be 10,000 initial investment, that's present value, times 1 plus rate square. We can take this further for 3 years, for 4 years, and others. So applying this logic, we can generalize our future value formula as that's today's investment, present value, or today's investment, or we can indicate it as I or C and others, times 1 plus rate, it's decimal, to the power of n. This n is number of periods. For example, assume as a student you have 2,000 idle cash that you don't need to spend it immediately. You want to invest this into a bank account and you will take this cash out in 4 years. You want to know how much you will have at the end of 4th year, how much your investment will grow. You go a bank and get the rate of, let's say, 8% per year, annual rate. That's a higher rate. And I am asking you how much will you have at the end of 4th year. That's calculate the future value of 2,000 at 8% for 4 years. Applying our formula, we can write this as 2,000 times 1 plus rate, 8%, power of 4. That's 2,000 times 1.08 to the power of 4. So this is future value of today's investment. Let's look at another examples. This is one period case. If you were to invest 10,000 at 5% interest for 1 year, your investment will grow up to 10,500. 500 part of this future value would be interest. That's 10,000 at 5%. 10,000 is the principal repayment. You invest today 10,000, at the end of period you get your principal main investment amount plus interest. 10,000 is the total due. It can be calculated as we said, 10,000 times 1 plus rate. Total amount due at the end of the investment is called future value, or shortly FV. So as I said, we can generalize the formula. Future value equals today's investment, cash zero, today's investment, or we can call it present value investment, or there are many names for it, times 1 plus rate. Cash flow today, and is the R is appropriate interest rate, required rate. This is future value. Also, we sometimes we want to know how much should we invest today to reach some amount in future. This is present value, or PV shortly, present value. Assume that in 1 year, next year, you will need, let's again say $10,000 for some purposes to renovate your car. Next year, you will need $10,000. So as a finance student, you know that you can afford this 10,000 for less than this amount because of time value. So how much should you invest today to reach this amount? This is what's the present value of 10,000. Let's assume interest rate is 6%. So how much should you invest today? We know that from our future value, previous slides, we know that this 10,000 is future value for this amount. So, and future value is calculated as C0, or today's investment cash flow, times 1 plus rate equals the future value. So present value X is calculated as 10,000 divided by 1.06, and this is 9433.96. So if we invest $9,433.96 today, it will grow up to 10,000 in 1 year at 6% interest rate. So this 9.4 thousand is present value of 10,000. As you see, we calculate it as future value divided by 1 plus rate. So we can generalize a formula: present value equals 10,000. This is future value divided by 1 plus rate. In our case, it's 1 year. That's why it has power of 1. So we may need to calculate same amount for 2 years. We will put number of periods here. So this is present value of 10,000 in 1 year. Present value is today's value of sum to be received in the future at an interest rate. Suppose you were promised to 10,000 due in 1 year when interest rates are 5%. Your investment be worth 9.5 thousand in today's dollars. That's calculated as 10,000 divided by 1 plus rate. The amount that a borrower would need to set aside today to be able to meet the promised payment of 10,000 in 1 year is the present value of these 10,000. So we can generate a present value formula like this, that is cash on a point in future divided by 1 plus discount rate. So we calculated present value and cash flow for 1 period, but we may need to know about our investments to some point in future, for example, more than 1 year, in 2 years and 10 years and others. Or also we may need to calculate the present value of cash flows far from today. Here we need to pay attention to interest types. Interest may be simple interest or compound interest. Simple interest is earning interest only on principal amount. That is simple interest. Assume we invest $100 today at the rate of 12%, very high rate. So how much will we have at the end of second year? That is, applying simple interest, we get 12% of principal amount, that's $12 in year 1. And in year 2 also we get 12% 12% of principal amount. That's simple interest. Moreover, we go to third year, fourth year, or any years, we get the 12% of principal amount. So that is at the end of second year, we will have $124. 12, and principal amount. This is simple interest. Second type of interest is compound interest. Compound interest is somehow more widely used than simple interest in financial instruments. Compound interest is earning interest on previous period's amount, not only on principal amount. So assume that we have invested $100 today at again 12% rate. So in year one we will get 100 plus 12% of 100, 100 plus 12% of 100, that will be 112. In year two we will get 12% of not principal amount as in simple interest. We will get 12% of previous year's amount, 112. So that is 12% of previous year's amount. 112 plus 12% of this amount. So it will be one future value in year two. It will be around 125.12 something. So you see it is higher than simple interest. At simple interest we had 124, it's higher than 124. That's because of interest on interest, earning interest on interest. If we take these numbers further, we will get 12% of this amount, previous year's amount, in year 4, 5, and others. Not 12% of fixed principal amount. And it makes higher change on our final amount. Compounding may not seem very compelling the early years of an investment, but we will see that it's a very powerful long-term force in long-term investments. We said that a general formula for future value is today's investment times 1 plus rate to the power of n. That's number of periods. So suppose a stock currently pays a dividend of $1.10, which is expected to grow at 40% per year for the next 5 years. What will the dividend be in 5 years? So we can calculate it. This is what's future value of. It says that dividend is 1.5 and grows at 40%. How much will it be in 5 years? In other words, it asks what's the future value of 1.1 in 5 years at 40% rate. Future value in year 5 equals 1.1 times 1 plus rate 40 to the power of 5. That's number of periods. So it is, dividend in year 5 is $5.92. It's considerably higher than the sum of the original dividend plus 5 increase of 40% on the original 1.5. So if we applied simple interest, we only would have $3.3. But because of earning interest on interest, we get $5.92. That's higher than simple interest. That's due to compounding. So if we put this on years, in year 1 it will be 1.54. In year 2 it will be today's investment, that's C0, 1.5 times 1.40 to this 1.40 squared. This in year 2, it grows up to 3.02 in year 3, and finally it grows up to $5.92. apply compound interest. We said that general formula for present value is future value of today's investment divided by 1 plus rate to the power of 2. That's general formula. How much would an investor have to set aside today in order to have $20 5 years from now if the count rate is 15%? That is, again, to see the cash flows clearly, it's better to draw a timeline. In 5 years, investor wants to have $20,000 and interest rate is 15%. How much should that investor put aside to reach this amount? That's, in other words, what's the present value of 20,000 at 15% rate in 5 years? Present value, as we said, equals future value, or CT, or A, or I. It's up to you how you call this future value. In year 5, divide by 1 plus rate to the power of 5. That's 20,000 divided by 1.15 power of 5. And it is 9.9 thousand. It's 9.9 thousand. So if investor invests or puts aside this amount, it will grow up to 20,000. This is future value of this amount in 5 years at 15% rate. Again, I'm writing again, present value equals future value divided by 1 plus rate power of n. Or in other words, with basic mathematics, we can rearrange this as future value equals present value times 1 plus rate to the power of number of periods. We have 4 indicators here, 4 parameters here: future value, present value, rate, and number of periods. So given 3 of these parameters, we can easily find 4th one with mathematical calculations. That is, if we are given present value, future value, time, we can find rate. That's, for example, we have 1,000 today. We want to have 2,000 in 5 years. At what interest rate should we invest today to reach our goal? That's finding rate given these 3 parameters. Sometimes we need to find time. For example, again, if we deposit 5,000 today in account paying 10%, how long does it take to grow to 10,000? That's, we are giving present value, discount rate, future value. We are giving 3 parameters out of 4. We need to find 4th one. Future value, present value, rate. Putting here, applying algebra, we find this to be in 7.27 years. Our 5,000 will grow up to 10,000 at 10% rate. As I said, sometimes we may need to find rate. At what rate should we invest in? Assume the total cost of a college education will be 50,000 when your child enters college in 12 years. You have 5,000 to invest today. What rate of interest must you earn on your investment to cover the cost of your child's education? Here, you are given 5,000 present value and 50,000 future value of your investment, and the time horizon, 12 years. So we are given 3 parameters out of 4 parameters in our formula. Future value equals present value times 1 plus rate to the power of n. This formula. So given these parameters, we are required to find this rate. Solving for this rate, we find it 0.2%, 0.21. That is about 21.15%. If you find a bank that pays 21.15% to our investments for 12 years, investing 5,000, we will reach our 50,000 future value. Consider an investment that pays $200 1 year from now with cash flows increasing by $200 per year through 4 years. If the interest rate is 12%, what's the present value of this stream of cash flows? So our investment in year 1 is 200, 400 in year 2, 600 and 800. So present value of all these cash flows can be calculated one by one. So assuming this as a single cash, 200 divided by 1 plus rate, 400 divided 1 plus rate square, that's 12%, 600 divided by 1 plus rate to the power of 3, and 800 divided by 1 plus rate, that's 12% to the power of 4. So summing up all these numbers, we get 1.4 thousand present value of all these cash flows. In second part of our problem, it says that if the issuer offers this investment for 1.5 thousand, should you purchase it? So investor sells it for 1.5, should you purchase it? Present value is less than cost, don't purchase. Present value is real value. Actually, it is, you can call it intrinsic value of these cash flows is 1.4 thousand, around 1.4 thousand, and its cost is 1.5 thousand. So we shouldn't purchase these investment. This is the end of session 4. We talked about present values and future value calculations. In session 5, we will continue this topic. Thank you for watching.